This evening I'm going to explore one of the great sutras of the Buddhists called the Lankavatara Sutra. And I chose that because I spent some time studying this with Alan Watts many years ago, and this was the central sutra that a group of us studied together for a couple of years. So getting back into it and rethinking it is a fond experience. But before I get into it, I'd like to read you just one quick paragraph, actually a part of a paragraph, in Suzuki's commentary on the Lankavatara Sutra. And I'm reading on page 285. One of the most important things that students of Buddhism have to realize at the very outset of their study is that Buddhism is not a system of philosophy. Has nothing to do with speculations as such, has no intention to present a logically coherent formula of thought. What the Buddhist teaching professes to do is to get us truthfully acquainted with the ultimate facts of existence. It requires us firmly to grasp facts based on personal experience. Once this is attained, including intellectualization and theorizing and philosophizing will follow by itself. So that's the way it starts. Right? It's not a logically coherent system. As a matter of fact, if you try to read it that way, you will realize quickly that it doesn't have an ordered structure. It doesn't have an ordered structure. It doesn't proceed with any grand design. The whole isn't captured in a series of integrated parts. Rather, it takes its subjects as subject matters, separate, distinct, and then pieces them together in at times, a random order, because their intention, and therefore, is not to present a logically coherent formula of thought. That's quite right. They didn't do it. What they did do is something else, so that's what I'd like to get to. What is the Lankavatara Sutra? It's going to present one idea, and it only has one goal. It wants to get to the point where you can see, realize with the mind, of course, to understand just one idea, that everything includes everything, excludes nothing. You have to understand that all is nothing but mind. That's the goal. Now, to do that, they go through a particularly interesting development that combines a philosophical and psychological perspective, which I'm going to try to represent. Now, to do that, I thought what I might do is to quickly contrast it with a Platonic view, because then it will be much easier to see it as a whole. And I'm going to pull out for the moment just the fundamental ideas of Plato's Timaeus. Plato's Timaeus is a cosmology, and it really starts with there is a God, a demiurgos, right? Ergos is to work, right? A demiurgos, and God, a maker. Ergos is a maker, a worker. Demi is a God. It's a God that produces. And in order to create, he first, of course, must look upon himself and, using that as a model, create the universe. So therefore, in the mind of God, as it were, there is a model. This model then becomes the basis that the Creator then creates the universe. And therefore, its beginning and end, right, cycles again and again and again, is already contained seed-like in the model. Therefore, the universe as it unfolds is nothing other than working out the implications of that model. The entire thing, therefore, in the mind of God is a model, and one interesting word will capture the whole thing. If you have a model that includes everything as a whole, simultaneously, a simultaneous whole, now what does that mean? That means that, take an example, if you can take mankind, man, and if you can see how he emerged, right, where he is and where he's going, if you can see that entire development as a whole, simultaneously, as if it were a seed-like in its compactness and beauty, then you would be seeing the image of man under the aspect of eternity. Under the aspect of eternity. Therefore, the whole thing is there in all of its completeness. It's not going anywhere. It's complete in itself, and it's simultaneously as a whole. So too the entire universe. Through all of its forms, it's all compact together in a model. And it's this, in the mind of God, therefore creation is nothing but God reflecting upon the idea in his own mind, that's the model, and which that is used then with the skill of creation, produces the entire universe from beginning to end as it cycles its way on and on. Now, with that in mind, simple as it is, I'm going to now take the Lankavatara Sutra and read into it. Now, if you could, let's picture this for the moment. A moment, look here. Suppose it was possible to be able to, in some way, catch a glimpse of this most directly. Then it's not active, it's complete, it contains everything, it contains all the forms that are there. It naturally, since it's not doing anything, it's simply reflecting them, much like a mirror would. It contains everything, only in a simultaneous whole. Therefore, we can picture this as if it were a mirror that contains all forms. So we'll make a mirror out of it with my artistic ability.